One of the other pieces that's always interested me is how people come to the table, and what their expectations are coming into, especially meditation at work. And what have you found to be some of the benefits? I mean, I've certainly felt like we avoid it when we need it most, but when you can squeeze in and commit to that 30 minutes on Wednesday, it's like the rest of the week feels like you can be more focused, you feel more productive, I feel more productive. But I'm curious, what have you found, and after you've been doing this for, we'll get into that in a little bit, for how long you've been doing this for, but what are some of those benefits to like bringing this into a workplace?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting piece, and I want to highlight and frame this in a certain way. In a workplace, there's kind of a baseline of stress and rush. And I know, right, I'm responsible for leading it, so I know I'm going to be there because there's people counting on me. It's like part of my work day, so to speak. I don't have the option to say I have too much work today. But what I know is true, I'm an overcommitter just like everyone else. Like, I'm the rabbi at a synagogue, I'm a lawyer at a solo law firm, and I'm running like a few dabbly nonprofits that excite me with other partners. So I've got like 4.5 like half-time jobs that I'm like mainly responsible for. And so there's always things that need to be done, not enough time in the day, and I do not have enough time for this. I'm someone that shouldn't do this. And I also know that it's precisely when there's not enough time in the day for this that I absolutely must do this. And it's an ironic feature that is when we need it, or it's the people that need it at the moments they need it that can't have it. And so one of the misnomers I wanted to dispel first, like the most important benefit is that this will save you time more than it takes. Now that's a funny thing. It's weird to sell mindfulness. Probably need to define what it is a little bit, but it's paying attention to where our attention is, so kind of meta-awareness, right? Our attention is always somewhere, but let's say we're like lost in stressful thoughts about some conflict that we have to confront or avoid, and it's drawing our attention, and we're also sitting at a desk ostensibly answering emails while maybe also waiting for a meeting that hasn't started yet because it's running 8 minutes late. So there's like a few things going on. I think that's a typical work scenario. Maybe there's a cup of coffee there too for more caffeine that probably is not needed. And it's gonna like add to the jitters, right? So here's like a typical work scenario. So mindfulness is about knowing where our attention is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that my attention is currently on these stressful thoughts. It's about recognizing I am not my thoughts. I am not even my body. There's something deeper and that transcends all of that. It's included in what I experience, but these are like clouds passing in the sky. They're things that happen, but they're not me.
Right.
And that's, I think like all the apps are inner space, or, but like that's the space. I am not my thoughts. I am not the pain in my back, right? Those things may be dominant features of where I am right now, but I'm aware of where my attention is, and it's there. And so once we create that distance of, my attention is with these stressful thoughts, kind of pick them up and examine them, and then we can practice, people sometimes say like non-judgmentalism. That seems too abstract to me. So I prefer compassion. I'm stressed right now because I'm dealing with a conflict. Can I bring compassion to that experience? Like, like give myself a hug. That's hard. That's okay. It's hard to be in conflict with other people. Or it's hard to have too much to do, or it's hard to be stressed about how to meet deadlines, or do work right, or work collectively, or pay the bills, or whatever, or contend with plague. It's hard, and that's okay. And is it also hard for the people I'm with? Right, and so to just bring a kind of lens, like imagine mindfulness as sunglasses of compassion. And so you're just seeing for you first, and for everyone, with a little kindness and compassion, to be able to look at that and say, it's okay. So that's really mindfulness, to be aware of our attention at any given moment in ways that are kind, to bring kindness into the moment. now then the benefits ensue. But I don't want to sell the benefits without saying that that's just a good way to be.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, that's the benefit. It's good to do this. And so this isn't a way necessarily to like appease disgruntled workers that don't like have the health insurance they need, right? That's not like, this is not an excuse. This is a good way for us to be in the world. And then once that happens, so a few things happen. Our stress cycles, right? So stress cycles are kind of like open windows on a computer, and they're going until something ends them. I think a lot of us are familiar with what those are, like a good run or cardio, or a good hug, or being in nature, the forest, at the beach, a blue sky. There are things that will end or reduce our stress cycles, but when they get kind of stuck or there are too many of them, it gets pretty hard to close those windows, and then eventually we either get sick or crash or whatever, like a computer slowing down.
Yeah.
So mindfulness is going to do that. It's going to, as we are with our breath, let's say in moment to moment, that's a common way of being, because we're kind of tracking our attention and noticing, oh, I'm over here, oh, I'm over there, and come back to the breath again and again as much as we need, probably the most common practice we do. We calm, and there are chemical things that occur, right? Like cortisol levels drop, and there's kind of then a reduction of inflammation, and our reactions change. And then eventually, if we deepen into the practice for say 8 or 10 or 15 minutes, we might even begin to lose our sense of self a little bit, to not feel as attached to our ego or as insecure, because we're in touch with something deeper than what happens in our day. So then we begin to feel accepted or loved or okay. Things are going to be okay. And then we begin to kind of bond with other people, even in the group, and experience deep connection. And so as that happens, inflammation is going down, right? And inflammation is the cause of
a lot of things.
A lot of problems, right? So we're just going to be reducing inflammation. We're going to be kind of gearing our brain to be not as overloaded. And then when we come out, we're going to feel as refreshed as if we took a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day, even though we practiced and sat, functionally for like 14 minutes or something in meditation. But it's going to feel like you got a good 2-hour nap, and you've got like energy again, a good buzz. You're going to approach things, and they're not going to be overwhelming. Just like, when you go to sleep, things are really overwhelming, and then you wake up and you realize you're just too tired, and like you need to rest and come back to it.
Sometimes it's that simple, right?
Yeah, and so then like things are going to happen quicker, but also smarter, right? You're going to say like, wait a second, all these things don't have to happen now just because I'm overwhelmed, or am I even approaching this thing the right way? Because once we're calm, our whole approach changes. And so what people find is they're able to save time in the day by saying like, wait, I can delegate that. Why did I have to do it? I only have to do it because I was in a kind of like crazed way of being, or like, that's not actually important. That doesn't need to happen. That can happen in 3 weeks because I have like a family at home to go eat dinner with, right? Like, it changes our priorities in ways that make us very okay with what the rest of the day is going to look like. And so people come out of it, right? Or say there's a conflict. And so rather than sending the email that's sitting in the draft, it's like, it's your fault, I'm going to tell you why. Kind of say like, oh, I know that they have been going through a hard time, and like now I'm compassionate, I feel bad. So just sending that email, it's like, I know you've been going through a hard time, like, and we're having this difficult exchange, but like, are things okay? And can we take a break, right? Like, things are just going to get approached differently. So people's days will be smarter. And so the mindfulness, no one ever came to mindfulness. Everyone comes, and if we do an intro, people always say, I don't really have time. For mindfulness today.
The refrain, right?
I'm here, but I probably shouldn't be, but I'm so at the end that I need to be, right? So we catch people kind of like at the brink often. You don't need to wait till
it's too late.
It's too right? We don't need to wait till it's like a crisis, and we've just got to put the work aside for midday mindfulness. So, but every time, everyone always leaves and says like, wow, that was really good. And I know I experienced it too. Right, I'm living it. I come in, I've got too much to do, I don't have time for this, but I committed to doing it at CIC and on Wednesdays at 1, so I guess I'm going to do it.
Right.
And then I leave, and Wednesday afternoons are the best afternoons of the week. We should do it every day.
Yeah.